You pick up a pen during a boring meeting. Your hand starts moving before you even decide what to draw. A few minutes later, there's a horse on the page, or a dog, or some creature that doesn't exist anywhere except your notebook. You didn't plan it. It just happened. Now imagine doing that same thing, alone, 40 meters underground, by the light of a burning stick of juniper, 17,000 years ago. That's not a metaphor. That's Lascaux. The obvious answer is that ancient humans painted animals because they hunted them. Food on the wall, hope on the wall. Simple. But the real answer is far stranger. Because when researchers actually cataloged what's painted deep inside the caves of France and Spain, the numbers didn't add up. At Lascaux, the walls are covered in horses, aurochs, deer, and bulls. But bones found in the same caves tell a different story. These were the actual food scraps left behind by the people who lived there. Reindeer. That's what they mostly ate. Reindeer barely appear on the walls at all. So if the paintings weren't a menu, what were they? This is where the story gets interesting, and where it starts to say something about you, not just about them. For most of the 20th century, the leading theory was called hunting magic. The idea was simple. Paint the animal, gain power over the animal. A kind of pre-hunt ritual, like a rehearsal for the real thing. It made intuitive sense. It fit neatly into the story of primitive man trying to control a dangerous world. There's just one problem. It doesn't match the evidence. Archaeologist Clottes spent decades studying these caves firsthand, and he noticed something the hunting magic theory couldn't explain. Many of the most spectacular paintings, like the lions and rhinos found deep in Chauvet Cave, were animals nobody was eating. Predators. Apex animals. Creatures that would have terrified a Paleolithic hunter, far more than they'd have wanted to summon for dinner. So Clottes proposed something different. Something stranger, he argued, alongside researcher David Lewis Williams, that the paintings weren't about hunting at all. They were about altered states of consciousness. Trance. Vision. Here's the logic. Deep caves are sensory deprivation chambers. No light, no sound except your own breathing. Total darkness for hours at a time does something specific to the human brain. It can trigger hallucinations, geometric visual patterns, a sense of merging with the rock itself. Lewis Williams called this the neuropsychological model, and he pointed to something almost eerie. The abstract dots, zigzags, and grid patterns found throughout cave art closely resemble shapes people report seeing during altered states today, whether from meditation, migraines, or fasting, which raises an uncomfortable question. What if the animals weren't paintings of things people saw with their eyes? What if they were paintings of things people saw with their minds? Some researchers think the caves functioned less like galleries and more like temples, places you went to speak with something beyond the ordinary world. The animal wasn't just an animal. It was a spirit, a guide, a messenger between one reality and another. That reframes everything. This wasn't decoration. This was communication. But there's a third piece of this puzzle, and it might be the strangest one yet. Alongside the animals, cave walls all over Europe contain something easy to overlook. Small marks, dots, lines, hand-shaped stencils, made by blowing pigment around a hand pressed flat against the stone. For a long time, archaeologists treated these as background noise, doodles beside the real art. Paleoanthropologist Genevieve von Petzinger disagreed. She spent years traveling to caves across Europe, cataloging every non-figurative mark she could find. And she noticed something remarkable. The same small set of signs, roughly 32 of them, kept appearing again and again, across thousands of kilometers and thousands of years. A chevron shape here. A specific dot pattern there. Not random. Repeated. That kind of repetition doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a symbol mea, ns, something to more than one person. When it's shared, taught, passed down. Von Petzinger's work suggests these marks might be one of humanity's earliest attempts at a symbolic communication system. Not full writing. Not yet. But a shared visual language. Sitting right next to the animals, in the exact same spaces. So picture the whole scene differently now. Not a solitary artist expressing themselves, a community, returning to the same sacred chamber across generations, adding animals as spiritual messengers, and small symbols as a kind of shared code, layered on top of each other, sometimes literally painted over older images, as if the act of painting mattered as much as the finished picture. Why does this matter to you, thousands of years later? In a world with light switches, printers, and cameras in your pocket? Because the impulse never left. Think about what you do when something feels too big to hold in words. A birth, a death, something sacred, something terrifying, something you don't have language for yet. You don't write an essay about it first. You reach for an image, a photo, a drawing, a tattoo on your skin that means something only you fully understand. Your ancestors did the same thing, just with ochre and charcoal instead of ink. There's also a simpler layer to all of this, one that researchers like Guthrie have pointed to. Some of the art is just skill, just observation. Guthrie studied Ice Age animals extensively. He noted that many cave paintings show an intimate, almost obsessive understanding of animal anatomy and movement. The kind of knowledge you only get from watching a creature for hours, tracking it, studying how its muscles shift when it runs. Some of this art might simply be the pride of getting something exactly right, the same pride you feel when a photo finally captures a moment perfectly. So maybe it wasn't only magic, and it wasn't only spirit contact, and it wasn't only language. Maybe it was all three, tangled together, the way most human behavior actually is. Ritual and skill and communication rarely stay in separate boxes. Not for them. Not for you either. Here's the part that should sit with you a little longer than the rest. Nobody forced anyone to crawl 40 meters into a pitch-black cave to paint a lion by torchlight. There was no practical reward, no food, no safety, no shelter gained from it. It cost time. It cost effort. It cost risk. In tunnels where a fall could mean death with no way to call for help, they did it anyway. That single fact might be the most important thing cave art tells you about being human, long before agriculture, long before cities, long before anything you'd recognize as civilization. People were already spending scarce, hard-won time on something with no survival value at all. Just meaning, just the need to make something, and leave it behind. You still do that. Every time you doodle in a meeting without meaning to, every time you take a photo you'll never look at again just to hold on to a feeling, every time you decorate a wall, a phone screen, or your skin with an image that means something private to you, you're running the same ancient program. You pick up a pen during a boring meeting. Your hand starts moving before you even decide what to draw. Turns out, it never really stopped moving. Not for 17,000 years.